DS Yoxheimer. This is another edition of The Spectre, and I am, of course, doing my review of the new Halloween movie. I saw it last Friday. Kind of want to let it sink in a little bit. Want to let it set in. I was happy when I left the theater with it, pretty much. I didn't have, I mean, I've heard a lot of other reviews and takes on it. I mean, they had Rotten Tomatoes gave it like over an 80 percentile review or something like that. Mostly the ones on YouTube. I cruised a few of those, watched a few of those and stuff like that. Some people got a little too cinema snob on it. Just I don't know. I mean, there are some really bad Halloween movies out there. When I was coming of it, like I was around like my early teens, I started going to the theaters to watch them. The first one was from 1978. So I saw like part 4 or 5 and maybe 6 in theaters, which are part of the Thorn trilogy, and those are, of course, they've been they have nothing to do with the new Halloween movie, of course. None of the movies whatsoever have anything to do with this film. It's just, other than the first one, of course, but none of the sequels. They even cut the second one. And the second one was Halloween H2O from, I think it was 1998. That movie was supposed to be a direct sequel to Halloween 2. And that was the first, like, kind of Halloween 3 I don't really count as being changing, like, sort of, like, changing the story arc or the canon or whatever, because Halloween 3 was a meta movie in which the actual movie Halloween existed in that movie. So Michael Myers was a fictional character in Halloween 3, but there was something messed up going on in that movie with the killer Halloween masks from the Shamrock company that made these Halloween masks that had a chip in them that was made from, like, part of Stonehenge. That's the plot of it. Check it out. It's some fucked up shit, you know. I saw it 2 years ago, maybe. I never saw Halloween 3. I wasn't that familiar with it. But it has a quirky history. I mean, it's basically... Halloween is a beloved, low-budget 1978 slasher film that's loved by fans and critics alike. And so over time, a lot of sequels were made by different people, different directors, producers, distribution companies, and people. They all have different ideas about what they want to do with something, and they tend to kind of fuck it all up. And that's what happened. Jamie Lee Curtis was in part 2, of course, so this is her 5th time. She was in Halloween Resurrection, which followed Halloween H2O, which pretty much sucked. That H2O was kind of... Like, it wasn't shitty in that it had poor production values. It was relatively decent there, but the plot was just like, what the fuck? She's like, she faked her death, changed her identity, and she somehow got a job as a head, like, mistress of a, like, prep school in California, where, her brother caught up with her. In this movie, the new Halloween movie, now they nixed that too. Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are not brother and sister. He's just psychopath, that happened, came back to Haddonfield and, killed her friends and then, pursued her. So, and Donald Pleasance was in a lot of them. Donald Pleasance was up to his death. But anyway, so Jamie Lee Curtis in the late 90s agreed to do the other Halloween movie, H2O, and then that kind of blew. She wasn't, it just wasn't a horror movie. It was more like a Scream kind of movie. Even the movie poster it was from like one of the Scream movie posters from back then, because that's when Scream came out, was around then, and they were capitalizing on that. And everyone I knew, I didn't see it in theaters, but everybody I knew who saw it back then hated it. So 20 years later, here we are, and they managed to get Jamie Lee Curtis to do it again. And she's, she does. I mean, she does go back. She did, they convinced her. I mean, at least, the script, it was decent. I mean, I didn't really see anything that really bothered me too much about the movie. I just sort of wanted a little bit more, maybe. Just things I was thinking about. I like the way it started out. It was pretty cool. Michael's at the sanitarium, and he is, as you see in the trailer, he's like chained to the ground, like with a bunch of other mental patients. It's Smith Grove's sanitarium, like the one. Well, that doesn't look like the one from the other movie, but anyway. So they're chained up there, and these two investigative journalists are showing up, and they're like British. I mean, obviously you know that, but that sort of makes it a little more dramatic. I don't know. But, well, if he was from, like, New York or whatever, would just sound like, hey, Michael, check this out, would have been holding up the mask, just taunting him. But that's what they did. They went to this place, and he's chained, and you see him from behind. You don't see his face. They sort of cover his face. He has his mask off after he escapes. And by the way, the shrink has the original mask from the first Halloween. That's supposed to be the same mask that he wore when he did the killings before. So he somehow got his hands on it, like it somehow just like turns up like Luke's lightsaber in The Force Awakens. So he goes there, and all the mental patients are going crazy when they bring the mask out, and Michael doesn't do anything or say anything. He just stands there. But it sort of, it's sort of a catalyst for him, I guess, maybe wanting to get out or getting out. So they're transporting him to another facility, and of course the bus crashes, and then he gets out. He has a doctor. This doctor's name's Dr. S. I forget the dude's name. I have to go back a moment here. But, anyway, he was Loomis's. He replaced Loomis as, doctor, as his, doctor to treat him. I don't know how you treat him. He just doesn't talk and everything, but, anyway, I'm trying to find it. Okay. Turn up this way. Rotten Tomatoes. But anyway, so he's a doctor. He's a little wacky. But, the bus goes off the road, and, like, a father and son in a truck stop by, and, they get killed, obviously. There's this whole thing that goes on, and, it's pretty fucked up. And so there's a bunch of mental patients alongside the road. Cop shows up. Cop gets killed. Yeah, it's fucked up. For a 61-year-old, Michael Myers can still kick ass, so don't fuck with him. He makes his way after he escapes from the bus and everything during the daytime. Later on, the investigative journalists who were trying to interview Michael earlier at the sanitarium, they stop at a gas station. Oh, well, you've probably seen this scene from the trailer, and the woman goes in the bathroom. The British guy's out there, like he's filling up his gas tank and everything, and then Michael goes into the bathroom and his hand goes over the door and just drops teeth in front of her, because he had taken the teeth out of the mechanic whose coveralls he also took. So, he needed coveralls. It's a shitty day to be a mechanic in Haddonfield, I swear to... not good. So, took those, kills those two, kills the journalist, who were sort of taunting him in a way, and then he And then after he does that, he goes to their car and gets the mask out of the trunk, puts it on, and somehow gets from there to, the neighborhood in Haddonfield where basically everyone's, trick or treating and all of that. And there's of course a babysitter and a kid and the kid's sort of a wisecracking kid, and they have a little bit of a funny, bit they do or whatever, a little funny exchange, a little bit of humor there, which was, I thought, nicely placed. And they're kind of unaware of the whole Michael. I mean, it happened so long ago. They're not too aware of it. It's kind of almost become kind of an urban myth, maybe. But Laurie Strode is holed up, as you well know, in her as a survivalist. She's got her home just fortified and just booby trapped and all that kind of shit. And the British couple, well, this is before they got killed, I forgot to allude to that. They went to her house after they went to Smith Grove to talk to her, and she wasn't too forthcoming or anything. She kind of she didn't really want to give them what they had in mind in terms of she just basically felt Michael Myers is just evil and that's it, and there's nothing to really discuss about it. You're not going to get him to talk. There's nothing more to find out about it. He's just a killer, and I have to kill him. That's her attitude. So they leave. She tells them to get out of there after they talk for a while because they brought up the fact that her daughter was taken from her. But from Child Protective Services because she was training her daughter to be a survivalist. So, anyway, she's had a couple of failed marriages, and her daughter is played by, was it Judy Greer? She's really good. She's a good actress. And she was good in this. Everybody's pretty good in this. I'm not saying there weren't some weak points, but she was pretty good in it. And in some scenes, Nick Castle who played the Shape, as they call him, in the original movie plays the Michael Myers a couple of times. But the other guy, I think a lot of the other scenes, there's I forget the name of the guy who primarily plays him. When he has his mask off, that guy, that's the other guy. I think it plays him in more like, he's kind of a stunt man, so he's probably playing him in most of the movie. He's probably wearing the mask. So Michael Myers is just basically, it's nighttime on Halloween in Haddonfield, and they're aware that he escaped. And so once Laurie finds out about this, she's trying to circle the wagons and get her family out to her house. And her daughter's not having it because she's so sick of this shit. It ruined her childhood, made her paranoid and everything like that. And she tried, and she shaped out a happy life for herself, so she doesn't want to bother with this Michael Myers shit and everything. But the stuff that he taught her would come in handy later. So, and the thing that it's not that it bothered me in this movie, but you will notice in this film, it's not a very, I don't want to say it's a hashtag Me Too movie. I don't think it necessarily is. It was just, but the men in this movie are nothing but red shirts from Star Trek, the male characters. Laurie Strode's granddaughter's boyfriend is in the movie, but he just kind of like, they go to the dance, he sees her kind of making out with another girl he'd been drinking, kissing, not making, but enough to, rightfully so, piss her off. So they're kind of done. They sort of split off. Her boyfriend goes away. You never see him again. You think he's going to get killed or have some kind of encounter with Michael Myers. Just goes away. So he was just kind of this character that really didn't have any go anywhere. He was just there, and he wasn't even there to get killed. He was just there to be a jerk and kind of get her to leave the dance that they went to and go home. And she left the dance with their mutual friend, this guy, this other kind of nerdy, well, I don't know, nerdy kid, but this other kid who had a thing for her, but she didn't like him that way. So he tries to make a pass at her, and she's like, oh, get the fuck off, whatever. So he's kind of left behind in this yard. They were taking a shortcut, climbing a fence and all of that. So she starts walking, and he's there and stuff like that, and these sensor lights come on, and they go off in this backyard, and Michael Myers pops up. He shows up and, well, kills him. You know, he's screaming for help and stuff like that, and she witnesses Laurie Strode's granddaughter's, I can't think of her name right off the top of my head right now, gets killed. I mean, not she gets killed, but this kid gets killed. He gets impaled on the fence, and it's fucked. It goes right through his, yeah, it's fucked up. Have to see it. This is full of spoilers. I'm talking about this movie, so just so you know, if you don't want to hear about the ending, just turn this shit off now and go see the movie. And I'd appreciate it if you watch this video later. You don't have to, by any stretch. But, I don't know if I'm going to say anything more insightful that anybody else hasn't said about this movie if you're a huge Halloween fan. So anyway, they eventually, and her phone, the granddaughter's phone was lost because her boyfriend threw it in a cheese dip or some shit at the dance, and because he was mad or something, because she's always using her phone, which everybody does now. So she doesn't have her phone, so nobody can get in contact with her. So Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode's character, Laurie Strode is very, she's frantic and upset. She, and she's going around, she's a badass in this movie. I mean, she goes right down, Michael Myers is out there walking around the neighborhood and, trying to kill people and stuff and killing people. And she's down there with the police and she freaking shoots him and fucks, I don't know if she hit him there, but she might have. But, they know her, obviously, in Haddonfield because she's been this baddie lady, living alone and probably not, interacting socially in town very much, obviously. And so she's a bit of a kook, suffering from severe, PTSD. And she wants to get everybody back at her house so they can be, because she has all the guns there. She's got like this kitchen island, pushes a button and opens up and you go down the stairs and there's like a panic room or, well, whatever, doomsday shelter of sorts, but it's for a psychopath. That's all it's for. Michael Myers. It's what it's basically designed for. And so her Laurie Strode's daughter and son-in-law come out to the house, and the dad is there. And here's another one of these male characters just gets killed. He gets killed outside, and they don't really seem too terribly upset by it. It's sort of, it happened, but it's sort of things happen so fast. Laurie Strode wouldn't react to it very much, because I don't even know if she liked that guy, her son-in-law anyway, but I don't think, but she just was focused on I gotta fucking kill this dude, because he's just gonna keep going. So she's in that state. And Judy, what the movies, it doesn't really, there's no point in the movie where it loses me completely. Like, oh god, it doesn't get boring really for me. I'm not saying it's a perfect movie or anything like that either, or it didn't fall short in some places for me, but it was overall like a satisfying little ride, or nostalgic ride anyway. It took stuff from all the sequels. There were kids wearing the Shamrock Halloween masks, the pumpkin and the witch and all that, and the skeleton. There was the ghost cheat on the one victim, the babysitter. Michael Myers wore the ghost cheat in the first movie. A lot of them. There's a lot of Easter eggs. And there's more subtle ones too. Anyway, but getting back to the thick of the plot, eventually, Michael Myers pretty much kills all the cops. There's really no help for them other than they have to handle this themselves. And Laurie Strode pretty much knows what, she's been preparing for this forever, so she's pretty well prepared for this whole scene. She's got a tricked out house with just big floodlights and all that, and lots of guns. You need guns. No AR-15 though. She didn't have any. She had shotguns and rifles and stuff, but she wasn't. You think she'd have a little more and handgun, but not. Anyway, excuse me. It's early in the morning. So anyway, Laurie Strode eventually gets her daughter and her granddaughter at the house, and they are fighting Michael Myers there. It's like kind of the scene from, not like the scene, but it pays homage to the end of the first Halloween movie where, you know, you see Michael Myers emerge from the darkness and that kind of stuff, you know, and it's pretty suspenseful and everything, and they did a pretty good job of that. She you know, when the scene where you see in the trailer, and this is another spoiler, but it's pretty fucking cool. She's on the other side of the door, in the front door of the house, and Michael Myers has his hands like just through the windows, the little windows and stuff, and he's grabbing her and shit like that, and she blows his fingers off. I mean, it was pretty crazy. So it wasn't like the other movies where he kind of shot him from a distance and he just fell on the ground and then gets up. I mean, she's fucking him up. I mean, they're getting in a fight. I mean, mano y mano. They're, you know, fighting each other. And one of the cool scenes is Laurie, when they were upstairs and Laurie falls off the sort of upstairs porch or balcony of the house, and she's laying on the ground, and then Michael Myers looks back and she's missing, just like, you know, he was in the first movie, at the end of the first movie. So she turns the tables on him. And that's really what this movie is about, is just like, Laurie Strode turns the tables on Michael Myers and just, you know, and we don't really know if he gets killed. He goes back into the house. Laurie's daughter she grabs her old rifle and goes upstairs, and they basically are, you know, they get they all get in a struggle with Michael and toss him downstairs of the kitchen island. He rips the kitchen island off, that they're, you know, the entranceway to the secret room, the panic room, and so she's kind of taunting him and stuff like that. Like, the daughter is like, "Oh, I can't handle this, Mom. Where are you?" And then all of a sudden, I mean, the older daughter, not the granddaughter, and then Michael Myers was out of sight, and then she senses that she's weak, or thinks she's weak, and then she comes over, and then she just fucking starts shooting him and laying into him, and Laurie Strode shoots her from behind, fucks him up. He goes down in the basement, and they get around him, and Laurie hits a button, and these bars go over the door, or whatever they are. They just kind of sort of spring-loaded bars go across the entranceway, and he can't get out. And then she hits another button, fucking gas and flames are being, you know, there's she has it set up so she can set the whole house on fire and you know, ignite that whole room initially and kill him. So he's standing there, and you see the flames start to envelope around him and stuff like that. You don't see him burn. And they kind of flash away, and then you see the room again and the stairs going up, and you don't really see him, so you don't know what happened to him exactly. And Laurie Strode and her daughter and her granddaughter get out of the house, and they flag down a truck, and they get out of there. And that's kind of basically the end of the movie. I probably missed some things talking about. There's a lot to talk about with that movie. I thought it was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool movie. It's well shot. You know, there's nothing. I mean, it's what kind of you would expect too. I mean, I don't. There were some little surprises, but it wasn't. It was just to kind of make something that was, you know, nostalgic, but a little edgier, and not you know, none of the sort of Thorn cult kind of stuff from some of the other movies, or any other just kind of oddball subplots and things like that. It was just one plot. There wasn't a lot of other like some of the other movies and sequels. They had a lot of their oddball characters that were kind of just set up to get killed, and this didn't really have that. It has, I would say, a fairly lean cast. Especially after several of them were killed, but it wasn't like the other ones where there just seemed to be too many people, and they didn't, they didn't seem to have much of a reason for being there. They were either kind of annoying, or they're just get sort of randomly killed, or be, you know, some, somebody for the main character to play off of or whatever. In some Halloween movies, it even seemed like they had like a main character, unless Donald Pleasance was in it, and in he was in some of the really bad ones because they were all pretty bad. But I mean, it was just more or less, I'm sure, just a paycheck for him. I mean, you can't blame him, but this one was definitely a decent flick. Oh yeah, I wanted to touch upon the other thing. The doctor who's treating Michael Myers, the one who took over at Smith's Grove, he, unlike Loomis, he's like the opposite of Loomis. He wanted him to get out, so he was behind the bus crash and everything. He orchestrated that somehow. They didn't show how he did it, but when one of the police officers was trying to kill Michael, he killed the cop, so he could observe Michael and sort of in the wild, as it were, out of captivity, to see what he would do. And he was just really fascinated. He wanted to know what it was like to kill and all that shit. And he did. He killed the cop, and he thought, oh, Michael's gonna, he thought he was gonna be loyal to him. No, Michael Myers just fucking killed him. So, and that was Laurie Strode's daughter or granddaughter was in the back of that the police car, and she escapes and gets out and goes through the woods and then catches up with at her grandma Laurie's or Grandma Strode's house. Anyway, but yeah, that it was pretty good. I mean, if you really, I mean, you go watch any shitty Halloween sequel, and it'll definitely blow it out of the water. I guess that's not saying much because they're all pretty bad. I mean, some people like some of those movies, and I mean, I guess on some level I do. They're funny and shit. Halloween 6, if you ever see it, has and there's two cuts. There's a producer's cut, and then there's the theatrical one. But and Halloween 6 has Paul Rudd in it. Yep, young Paul Rudd. So that'll I don't know what Halloween 6 was called. It's actually sitting over here. What do you know? Halloween 6, it's Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. There you go. What a gem that was. It's the scariest of them all. The Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. I didn't know they did reviews. Okay. It's not exactly Roger Ebert giving a green light to that one, but yeah. There was the Return of Michael Myers, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and The Curse of Michael Myers. So that's what those three movies in the Thorn trilogy. But so the movie, yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know if they'll make a sequel. There wasn't any like cut scene in the credits at the end, like the Marvel movies, like an Avengers movie. But it was a satisfying flick. I think it's I think it'll it's continuing to do well, but I think it's definitely I don't know what that means for all of those sequels that are just kind of being cast aside in this new revisionist movie. This is about the 5th time I think they've reestablished sort of a new canon based on either the earliest or H2O took place with, I've said this before probably, but takes place after Halloween 2, 20 years later. So, this is basically trying to erase the sins of Halloween for Halloween H2O, basically. I guess that's, and it did. It was a good flick. I liked it at least as much as a couple of the new Star Wars movies, The Force Awakens and I guess, The Last Jedi. I'd say compare it. I mean, it's not like The Force Awakens. I just meant on how good it is. But yeah, I would totally recommend this movie. Not that you should see a movie based on my recommendation, but a lot of people seem to like it. If you go online and watch YouTube reviews of it, you'll hear all kinds of different shit, of course. But some people are a little more critical of it. You know, it is a. I mean, I don't know if the movie bashes men or sort of stereotypes men as either being just basically jackasses. I don't know. That's the only way to put it. Jackasses and like murderers, and that's it. You know. But I don't really interpret it as that. It's just. But I think some would. I mean, I know there's all this like people. It's like what they did with like the female Ghostbusters movie. You know, everybody was fighting over. If you didn't like the female Ghostbusters movie, you were sexist, and some people, and it's part of mediated reality where people kind of take on what's being discussed in social media, and they sort of adopt it or subscribe to it because it's I don't know. They need I don't know. Some people just can't form their own opinion. Maybe I don't know. But this movie was I mean, the thing is, this movie was decent. This movie was a movie that had a very strong female cast, and that's what the movie was about, and I liked it. And Ghostbusters, the female Ghostbusters installment, had an all-female cast, and it sucked because it just a shitty script. Ill-conceived concept. It just did not fucking work on any levels. The jokes were stupid. Everything sucked in it. It had nothing to do with the fact that there were women in it. It just sucked. This movie is you know, has like basically 3 strong female characters who survive, and it's executed pretty well, and I liked it, and that's it. You know. Even though they killed a bunch of guys in it. And you know what? I don't give a shit if they kill a bunch of guys, if they're sort of dicks anyway. I mean, well, not that they really didn't, none of them deserve to die, but they had to establish some level of douchebaggery, though, before they were killed, so they weren't just killing someone who was just a perfectly nice guy. So, kudos to that. And that's my take on the new Halloween movie. I welcome your comments, what your thoughts on it are. I hope you're having a happy Halloween, Halloween season. Be safe, party responsibly. You know, like I'm giving a PSA. Fucking not giving it. Do whatever you want, man. Do coke. I don't care. You know, just do all kinds of drugs on Halloween. Have fun. Dress up like Scarface and do a huge pile of blow and have a Scarface themed Halloween party. I don't know. That sounded really stupid. But anyway, this has been another installment of The Spectre. Subscribe if you like, and all of that, so you can watch some of my videos when they come up, and have an awesome Halloween. I'm going to carefully get this off. I am going to, of course, have a happy Halloween too.